Crows Club presents B-Side Breakdown.
Hey everyone, welcome to the B-Side Breakdown. My name is Brett Johnson and I'm your host. This is episode 47 of a podcast where I talk with other artists, musicians, and songwriters about a song they've written that is meaningful to them, and then we get deep into the why behind it. Today I'm going to be talking with David Jarnstrom from the band Dead History about their song Through the Shadows. So let's get into it. Here is Through the Shadows by Dead History. All right, and that was Through the Shadows by Dead History. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back with David Jarnstrom from the band to talk about the song and everything that's going on in his world. Stay with us. Hey everyone, it's Brett again with the B-Side Breakdown. Just wanted to let you know that we've started a Patreon for the podcast. If you go to patreon.com/B-Side Breakdown, you'll see the Down for the Cause tier. It's $5 a month and it gives you all the episodes ad-free and in advance before they are available on streaming services. Please go there and show your support for what we do, and we thank you so much. All right, we'll be right back. All right, and we are back. Let's bring in David Jarnstrom to talk about the song Through the Shadows by Dead History. David, thank you so much for coming back on to talk about this song by Dead History. It's great to have you back.
Thank you, Brett. It's always a blast to talk to you. And yeah, it's good to be here.
Yeah, man. So the way that this normally works, everybody who's listening, is usually the band picks the song, but sometimes I let them say, let me pick. And today I got to pick the song. So today we're talking about Through the Shadows. On the record, it's such a grand, awesome, damn song. So it's on the record Departures, right? That came out when?
Yeah, it came out in early June of this year, so June 2025.
Okay. Right. And it's the last track on the record, and I just remember it just hit me like a ton of bricks just with there's these different awesome movements that are in it. Some of the timing hit me odd at first, but then I could feel like just a lot of the space rock, emo shoegaze stuff that was happening, but then it just kind of had like these hardcore feeling breakdowns in it that I loved. And the lyrics I also wanted to talk about just because I'm interested, being a Minneapolis dude and you guys are from Minneapolis, kind of what we're talking about there. But I love the song and I love the record and I love the band. So tell me, how did Through the Shadows start? Like, who brought the idea to the table initially?
So just to be clear, so Through the Shadows is the third to last song. It's not the last song.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry.
Were you thinking of? I just want to make sure we're thinking of the right one.
No, we're talking about the right song. I have it pulled up and I was looking at it wrong. So no,
cool.
It's track 7. It's track 7.
Okay, cool. Because I say I'd talk about any of these songs. I love all of them. And frankly, I'm just actually quite tickled that you picked this one because frankly, I've been banging the table for it within the band for what feels like years now, and it was kind of in a constant danger of being left on the cutting room floor, and so I'm really proud that it did make, we did record it and it did come out, and I take no small degree of pleasure in the fact that people like yourself and several other people have since cited it as a kind of a standout track on the record, because
For sure.
Yeah, everyone else in the band at some point or another wanted to kill this song. I shit you not. It was a very to me kind of a bewildering thing, but a very kind of like a difficult one to bring to the finish line. Like most of these other songs were very just kind of fell out and were very easy to write, and some as you know, having done this kind of thing many times yourself, it's like those are really great and you love it when that happens, of course. And sometimes those are the best songs. And this song is probably not my favorite song on the record, but there's a certain degree of satisfaction to kind of like seeing something through and getting through some tough patches.
Sure.
when it comes to like arranging and writing and all that kind of stuff. And I just thought that it was a great album song. It was going to play an important role on the record in terms of just kind of like a vibe shift. And yeah, it's just I don't know. It's low key one of my favorites. So I'm really glad you picked it as well. And so yeah, I'm trying to think, how did it start? I mean, this I'm sure it came from the main riff that you hear right off the top of the song, which was written by Matt Rezac, guitar player. Has kind of like a slide to it, kind of a unique sounding riff. Some people hear like a southern rock thing when they hear it. We were kind of going for like kind of like a shoegazy kind of a thing. And as so often happens when John and I are playing and writing stuff, like we just kind of instinctively just started, I guess, throwing stuff against the wall, and kind of quickly came up with the drum and bass part, which is, I mean, the drum and bass stuff on all this record, I absolutely love. I mean, I think, you know, there's no, um, there's just no substitute for what you get when you play, with the same rhythm section partner for like 20 years, like John and I have. It just kind of like stuff kind of falls into place really easily, and feels kind of natural and organic. And um, yeah, I love John's he's kind of doing a slide thing in his part, and I have this kind of like hi-hat break in the verse that is kind of like an interesting choice. I don't think the guys really knew what I was doing at first, but just kind of what I instinctively um, heard when Matt presented that riff. And yeah, we just kind of like went from there. And this one, like I said, this one was a slog. I mean, there's so many iterations of this song, and it
Sure.
originally was very long, and I was really kind of intent on keeping it kind of long. I thought everything kind of made sense as it is, and I have to admit, I'll take the loss on a few of these. The guys did insist on editing some of the stuff down, and I do think it was for the best. Um, but I just like that it's kind of like this, yeah, this kind of like this longer track. It's moody. It kind of has a lot of space.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of moves very intentionally, and like there's not a lot of like I don't know. It's just kind of like it's a very different vibe than the rest of the record. The drum part is very, very, very like it just feels good for me to play.
Mm-hmm.
It's very groovy, very spacious. It's kind of the antithesis of the stuff that I play in Rat Owl, my other band, where I'm trying to fit like almost as many notes in as possible. Sometimes it's just
Sure.
kind of complete opposite of that, which is kind of a fun dichotomy for me, to just be like, hey, I'm just here to frame this thing and stay out of the way for the most part, and just make it feel good. So it's like it's really not, the rest of the record. You could draw through lines to maybe like the obvious things that we draw from like Quicksand or Fugazi and
Right.
stuff like that. This feels kind of like its own animal. It's not like post hardcore kind of derivative at all. I feel like it's the drumming parts actually remind me of like a lot of other things that I love. That would be almost even more like the way like Phil Collins drumming in sort of later era Genesis, or like
Sure.
the drums that like Sting or Peter Gabriel have used, like a Man in Cache or Vinnie Colaiuta, like just kind of cool like space stuff. The offbeat bell pattern in the chorus, and it's about being smooth and just yeah. So that was like it was something I worked at pretty hard to make it just sound that smooth. So hopefully it comes across that way. And
I think it does. I mean, I think like you said, it's to me it's the one song on the record that, like you said earlier, that other people were saying it's kind of a standout song. To me, it is, and it had its own feel, its own vibe, and it felt like, um, I'm gonna just forget the name of the song. Hold on a second.
Mhm.
Um, there was a uh, Back to the Center from your first record.
Oh, sure.
Like it rang of that in ways that for me feel so specifically Dead History. Like that's what I loved about it, and also how sure I could pull out nods to feelings of yeah, like no, I can totally feel like this connects with like the 22-year-old in me in some way of how I used to feel some of the bands that I used to love at the time. But it doesn't sound like Snapcase. It doesn't sound like Quicksand. It
Right.
doesn't sound like, it sounds like you guys. And I love it. And it's like this really mature version of all of that that's just been through the refinement process of a bunch of men that are likely in their 40s or older and kind of been doing this their whole lives, and but it just sounds so rich, and that's what I really loved about it. And just the different movements, as well as the vocals are always just, it's so cool, and the phrasing of the lyrics I thought was great. But I'm interested, is there any specific, like, I don't know how you guys roll when it comes to, how you do your lyrics as a band, like if the singer writes them exclusively or if the band kind of all chips in. But is there any, do you align behind a common understanding of what the lyrics are? Or, and I say that and I mean it seriously, because I've been in so many bands where nobody but the singer has any idea even what the lyrics are, because they just don't. They just know the music and they play it and they love the songs and they get behind the feeling, but they don't necessarily, there's no cohesive, necessary literary vision behind what it is that's being written. So I didn't know what that's like for Dead History. Do you all know what this song is about? Like, is it all like a common thing, or is it, this is just, nope, it's the lyrics that the singer wrote?
Yeah, it's a great question. And as someone who has to write, I in all in well in this band and Dead and Red Owl, I do the I kind of head up the PR efforts, and I try to like do press releases and things that get us, placements in websites and other things, and you know I know that a lot of people are very interested in lyrical content and like what are you guys singing about and stuff. And in both cases in my bands, like both Brad Senny for Dead History and Jeremy Justin for Red Owl, it's like pulling teeth to get them to
Sure.
talk about what a song means. Like they
Fair.
don't really like to talk about that. And part of me really appreciates that because
I do too.
um, it's funny. I have like a writing background, but I don't really. I've never been the biggest lyric guy. I mean, sometimes I am, but like some of my favorite bands, I don't even really know what some of the lyrics are. Like, it's just more of like a feeling,
Yep.
and more like I kind of feel like this is what this is about, or like, and so Brad is kind of that kind of a writer. And I
Got
should
it.
say, I'm not 100% sure that John McEwen, the bass player, who also sings backup vocals and had a huge hand in kind of helping um, do some of the vocal, like I wasn't around when they did vocals. It was John, Brad, and Chris Johnson, the engineer who recorded the vocals, and those three kind of really worked closely to make the vocals happen. And sometimes John will suggest things. I think in Dead History it's more just maybe like a backing part or something like that. So I'm pretty sure it's all Brad, and he's just like great in my estimation. I'm because I was a fan of his before he was in this band, so I can say this. I mean, he's always been great at kind of just um, yeah, writing stuff that's like relatable, but like you don't really know what it is. It's sort of like it's open to interpretation, which I appreciate. I think, not to sound super pompous, but that's kind of like what I think great art does. Is it makes you think, and it means different things to different people at
For sure.
different times in their lives and whatnot. And so I probably should have asked him,
Nah, it's all good.
but
Because
like
but like you said though, that's the thing that I like about this, is that, to your point, right? It's like I read it and I draw my own conclusions of what it's about, just being from Minneapolis, and
right.
and
I
I
would.
have my sense of that. But I think the way he's done this, and that I've always perceived his lyrics as they fit into Dead History with his vocals, it's like, it's sure it gives a nod to what you might know what it's about, but it's more like visual art to me. It more like paints a landscape. Like I get like this kind of feeling of what this all looks like. It sort of creates visuals in my head more than like I'm looking for specific meaning out of it. And so, and to that end, like you were saying, some of the artists you love, same thing with me in my past. Like I have no idea to this day what some of these lyrics are, and some of these songs I've been listening to for 40 years. And I'm like, I sing it this way and I have no idea what they're actually saying. And it doesn't
Right.
really matter, because I know what the feeling it elicits, and it gets, like, I feel like I get the meaning regardless if I understood the lyrics or not, or if it was sung in a language I didn't know, it wouldn't matter. And I think um, that's kind of how this felt to me. But just given the history of Minneapolis over the past 5 years, 10 years, I just didn't know if there was something more specific going on.
Right. And I think you're probably on the right track. I mean, like, when I kind of looked at it again and, um, you know, it's all the stuff on this record is pretty impressionistic, but
Well said.
what I take away from it, just as someone, yeah, who has lived here for the last 20 some years, and what we went through, post George Floyd, like it feels very much
Right.
like kind of like when I read these words, I imagine what it was like when I rode my bike uh, through like the East Lake Street district after the unrest, and there was like literally buildings that had burned to the ground, and like um, uh, just everything was in ruin over there, and it just felt um and there was like National Guard in like in like all these armored, and there were like tanks, like
Right. Right. Right.
in
Right.
downtown Minneapolis and stuff. It was such a surreal time in everyone's life, who lived in the city. All five of us live in the city too. I mean, we're all like city people, um, and a lot of that stuff was close to where Brad lives, and like it's that's kind of what I take away from it is now that we're a handful of years since moved on from it, it's like there has been rebuilding, and like as much as you're just like, oh my god, this situation is just so fucked, like there's something, uh just the title and some of the hints here. It's like, it's like, hey, we're not going to be this isn't going to tear us apart, and we're going to kind of get through this. And you dig deep and you get through these really dark times, and you rebuild, and you will outlast these moments, and that's kind of what I take away from it.
Yeah.
He says stuff, what they tore down can never be erased, and
Yep.
things like that. That's exactly where my brain went, when I was first hearing these and proofreading the lyrics and stuff. I'm like, oh, okay. So I
Sure.
think you're on the right track. I don't know if he would admit to that, but
All good.
that's my impression of it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I hear that. I hear that. I mean, yeah. And I was just outside of Minneapolis. Like I'd lived in Minneapolis for forever. And then I had just moved outside of Minneapolis when all that happened. And so it was still so surreal being where I was, and then just going down to just, I don't know how many times I've driven down 38th to, and roll past Cup Foods. And then I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck, man. Like, what the, just
Yeah.
all that. And just seeing just everything that happened, even on the north side with just all of it. So it's
Yeah.
crazy. But anyway,
And it very much speaks to the, I think like the sort of sensibility and identity of this region and this state and this city too, is like you kind of, I'm of like Nordic kind of descent, and in Finland, my Finnish relatives, they had this concept of sisu, sisu,
mhm,
which means, kind of like grit, or the ability to like just kind of put your head down and get through some shit, and like
sure.
just get to work, like, yeah, life handed you
Yeah.
something terrible, like deal with it, and there is that kind of attitude here, just, I think that's maybe more than in other parts of the country, just because of like the weather that we got to deal with, and
Agreed.
whatever else, and so there's a little bit of that in this song. I think there's the song that follows this, the kind of like pretty acoustic song, the City Sidewalks. He's got a line in there too that I just absolutely love. And now that it's winter here and I look out the window, I was just listening to this to refresh my memory, and that came on. And there's a line where he says, winter comes creeping in, find the strength deep within. And it's just sort of like, I'm always like, every year, I'm always just like, oh my God, another 4 months of this bullshit, and like you just have to kind of like dig deep and like get through it somehow. And I'm not trying to equate like weather to what happened
No, I know you're
in the
not.
George Floyd situation, but I just mean like that's just kind of like a Midwestern,
For sure.
Minnesotan, Minneapolitan kind of like, hey, here's something else like that we gotta, kind of get through, and we gotta stick together. You can't, as I'm sure you remember. I mean, people are much more prone to kind of like help each other out here because you kind of have to
Yep.
get along. Your car dies, like someone's gonna jump you, someone's gonna dig you out of a snowbank. Someone's gonna like, um, we kind of have a tendency to help people out, and
And for
um,
all those that don't know the reference, jumpia means jumpstart, not attack you and beat you up. It means your
right.
car died and they're helping you
Yes, yeah, and you might die because it's cold enough
because it's
outside.
cold. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I don't know. That's
No, that's
just
cool.
like a very like that's my impression of a
Yeah.
lot of the stuff, and um, uh, which is I think is hopefully someone who doesn't live here, maybe they have a totally different personal interpretation of it.
Sure.
I'm not sure, but I'm glad that you picked up on the same kind of vibe.
Yep. 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 Um. So, catch me up on where Dead History is and what's going on with it, because I thought I read and saw posts about final show, someone's moving out of the country or something like that. What's going on with you guys?
Yeah, I mean, this whole thing has been kind of bittersweet, and like I had so much other stuff going on this year that I didn't really I mean, it still probably hasn't really hit me, but yeah, essentially, we kind of scrambled to get this record put out into the world because Matt Rezac, the guitar player, who kind of had the initial idea for the band, so it's kind of his baby, even though all five of us contribute equally, I would say, to all the music that you hear. I mean, Matt comes up with a lot of the initial ideas, but John came up with some of the original ideas, or initial ideas. Brock did as well. But it's kind of his baby, and he was kind of the one that really made sure that we would get together to practice and write, and like, and we've known for a couple years now. He and his partner have been trying to get citizenship to live over in the EU, basically since the first Trump administration. I think they were kind of like, "Fuck this, let's get out of here,"
Yep.
and for other reasons too. They just wanted to live in Europe and just to be able to travel around Europe. And
Yeah.
Matt does graphic design as a freelancer, so he's kind of able to just do that from anywhere. Um, and So they've been working on that. They worked on that for a long time, and it was really kind of uh, like touch and go for a while. They thought it was going to happen, but then Trump gets reelected, and like who knows what's happening with all these visas and things that are in progress and whatnot. But so they found out, I think about maybe a year ago or a little less than a year ago, that it was going to be a go for this summer, that they were going to get the green light to go and move to Portugal, to Porto. Um, and which we're super happy for them because we knew that's what they wanted and stuff. And but of course, part of me was just kind of like, oh man, like, I mean, that's probably going to be it for the band, and like,
Sure.
um, on the plus side, we all love each other. We recorded everything that we had. It was one of those. It's not one of those projects where our best stuff never got recorded or documented. So that was a relief.
That is.
And But it kind of sucks. We really only did a couple. We did like three shows basically, like in May, June, July, um, before Matt moved, and they were kind of like hastily put together because we weren't sure when we were going to get the records, and we weren't sure when Matt was going to move, and then like you have to like book things like 6 months in advance now and stuff. So
Yep.
everything was very last minute, but we were able to get a record release show in there and like a farewell show in there. Um, and play a few things. But I mean, it was really bittersweet to like just put out this record and then not be able to kind of go out and play it.
Right.
And because I'm so, I mean, forgive me for tooting our horns here, but like I was so proud of how it turned out. Like, kind of like same as the last Red Owl record. Like I love both Red Owl records and both Dead History records, but like the second one for each band, I just feel like we really elevated what we were all about and became more of a maybe less derivative of the bands that we were obviously like fans of when we were kids, and hopefully turned into something more of like our own unique sound, and just you just play with people for a handful of years and you just get better. Hopefully you get better. And I just think each record was a sizable leap forward. And so this there's just not a there's nothing I don't like about this record. I think it was the way it was recorded. It just sounds great. The songs themselves, we really kind of set out to explore more of the extremes and do some stuff that was really kind of like ambient and um, kind of just spacey and vibey, and then some stuff that was like super brutal. And then there was like an acoustic song, and like it's got a lot. It's just a lot more variety in the way the songs are just what we recorded. And then once again, Dan Black, who put out the record on Landland, who did all the kind of the design and layout and stuff. I mean, he just again knocked it out of the park with it, with how the packaging looks and everything. So just like 100% stoked with how the record came out. But then we didn't really get to do much to kind of back it up and stuff. And when we put out our first record, we kind of had a lot of really good press and stuff like that. And I think it's because we used like a specific um, PR person, and it was also during COVID, so there was like kind of like there wasn't much going on, and I think we got kind of caught a break there where it was slow in the news cycle and stuff, and oh, here's this band, and we were a new band and stuff, and now we're not a new band anymore, and it was pretty clear we weren't ever gonna like tour or like be like a quote unquote real band. So it kind of bummed me out that we didn't get the same response, at least that I noticed, to this record that we did the first one. Like the first one actually got like a lot of good publicity and stuff. And and this one too, I mean, people said really nice things about it. I know that it did mean a lot to some people. People have written me. I've met people while I'm out while I'm out playing with Rat Owl or John Snodgrass and the Greg Norton thing that I was doing this year. That took me aside to tell me how much they liked the Dead History record and stuff, and which end of the day, that means the most to me. Just knowing that we did our best, and I think it's something we're all so proud of, and that it did reach some people at least, and but yeah, it's just kind of a bummer we weren't get to play more shows. We did put out a couple videos, and but yeah, then it just kind of Matt moved, and that was kind of it. So it's not like if he comes back to town at some point in the coming years, we'll probably try to put a show together, and we
Sure.
still have a text thread where we're sending stuff to each other all the time, and
Right.
so it wasn't like I'd rather have it end this way rather than like someone got pissed at someone else and
Quit. Yeah.
can't be in the same room with the other person or something. It's like we all still love each other, and so and Matt did give us his blessing. Like if we ever got a chance to like say open for Quicksand again at Zora Darling or some similar kind of hero band asks us to play, we could get a fill-in guitar player and do that, like, and he wouldn't be mad, or maybe he'd fly back and do it. You never know. So it's probably not the end, but for all intents and purposes, um, it's yeah, it's just kind of like the dreaded indefinite hiatus kind of status.
Yep.
John and Brock and I have been getting together very sporadically here now that it's gotten colder out, and just because we kind of missed playing with each other, I think, and hanging out and stuff. And so, like on Wednesdays, like once a month or so, we've been getting together and just like literally just jamming. Like no one comes in with anything. We just start jamming, and it's not really, it doesn't really sound like Dead History at all, but we're just kind of trying to see if anything maybe shakes from that. It's a little more like we got like a synthesizer in the middle of the room, and those guys switch off between bass and guitar and synth, and we're just kind of making weird little jams, like psych drone jams and stuff like that. And
Sure.
so there's that, I guess. But yeah, so, and there's one more song that is yet to be released. We're hoping to put out like on a split 7-inch at some point, that was from the session for this record, that we just couldn't fit the whole thing
Sure.
on vinyl. So there is one last song that's still waiting to be uh, uh, heard by folks, but not sure when that's going to happen. Hopefully 2026. We'll see.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, let's do this. Let's take a quick break and then let's come back and find out then kind of post Dead History what you're working on next and what else you got going on. Cool?
Cool, cool, cool.
All right. All right. Everybody hang out. We'll be right back. More with Dave Jarnstrom. Be right back. All right. We are back with David Jarnstrom from Dead History. We were talking about the song Through the Shadows. And now, David, so tell me about all the other kind of crazy stuff you've been doing this year, man. Like, I know you've been playing with John Snodgrass. You were doing something with Greg Norton from Husker Du, and I know you played Fest this past fall again. Like, tell me what's going on with that, with Rat Owl, and anything else you're working on.
Yeah, this was like kind of a banner year for me in terms of the amount of like travel shows that I got to play. Like since I've been older and have a full-time job and all that kind of stuff. I used to tour a lot more when I was younger. But for where I'm at now, it was a pretty busy year. I just tallied it all up the other day because I was kind of going through my calendar and stuff, and it was like 50 shows with 6 different bands
Yeah.
and something like 130 some songs probably, which again, for someone with a full-time job, and
That's a lot.
I know the professional drummers do this kind of stuff in their sleep, but like I felt pretty proud of what I was able to accomplish this year. So yeah, and that's yeah, you nailed it. It was a lot of stuff with John Snodgrass and Greg Norton. So Greg Norton's the bass player from Husker Du. And they kind of had this idea. They ended up kind of doing this one-off thing after a Descendants show in Portland, Oregon, with a couple dudes out there, where they did like, I don't know, 6 or 7 or maybe more, but a handful of Husker Du songs, and they did it kind of karaoke style as like a after party for this Descendants show. And I guess it was just like a big hit with everyone. So John plays guitar. He does a really good Bob Mould impression. Um, can really sound like Bob Mould, especially vocally. Um, and I think Greg kind of picked up on that, and was like, "Hey, we should do more of that or whatever." And so John, being that John and I have played together for 7, 8 years now, doing his own music and Drag the River stuff and Armchair Martian stuff, his old bands. He kind of floated the idea to me. He's like, "What if we did this this kind of you know celebration of Husker Du style um, um, show where I'm on drums, um, uh, John's playing guitar and bass, or John's playing guitar and Greg's on bass, and each of us would sing songs every so often. John more than me and Greg, but with the general idea of being like, hey, let's whatever city we're in, we're going to invite people to come up and sing with us. And some of it is just fans that want to come up and be in Husker Du for 3 minutes or whatever. And some of it's like people that are musician friends of ours that we know are serious players and stuff. And so that was my main concern, is like I just didn't want it to be like come off as like a joke or something, or be awful, and to my surprise it really never did. I mean, because we did a lot of shows, like 30 some shows, pretty much played everywhere in America. We didn't get to Georgia, or Texas, or kind of southeast-ish, but we did get to Florida and East Coast, Midwest, Colorado. We did the entire West Coast. We did like a 2-week West Coast tour. Vancouver, Toronto, played a festival in Ontario this summer. So that was like the thing I did the most in terms of travel gigs, and it was super duper fun. None of the gigs were ever a drag. They were all different. And got to play with some heroes of mine. And yeah, vibes were just really, really good. And it was fun to just kind of, after a few like pretty intensive years of like writing and recording and playing my own music that me and my friends had labored over, to just play Husker Du songs, which were in my DNA, that I have listened to for decades. And just I can do that style of drumming pretty well. And then there's the added challenge of I actually had to like sing lead every once in a while on some songs, depending on how many people we had in the audience that night that wanted to sing.
Sure.
Like occasionally we would play a show like in Bend, Oregon on a Wednesday at a brewery, and like no one wants to get up and sing, and so we're carrying the load as vocalists. And I really had to get over any kind of reservations I had about singing and drumming, and just kind of do it.
That's awesome.
And so that was kind of like a new thing for me. I'm not sure how great it turned out, but some people said it was fine. So that's
I'm sure it was, man. Good for you for doing
um,
it. That's really cool.
yeah. So that there was a bunch of that, which was awesome. And we have one more gig on New Year's Eve here in Minneapolis. They, Gravy from Undercurrent Minneapolis actually pitched the idea that we get added to the bill for his annual Best New Bands of 2025 year end show at Memory Lanes, because technically we played our first show in whatever April 2025.
Nice.
Technically a new band, I guess, but yeah. And the idea was we were only going to do this for this calendar year. It's like a 40th anniversary of 1985, which was Greg Norton talked about how that was like the best year for Husker Du. They put out New Day Rising
Yeah.
and Flip Your Wig, and they just put out this box set called The Miracle Year, which is about 1985. We had a live set from First Avenue with all those songs, and talking about how they were just really on fire at that point, and things hadn't gotten bad yet, and like that was just kind of like the peak of the band. And
Yeah.
so it was kind of like a celebration of that year and 40th anniversary of that. And not to say that if the right opportunity came along we might do some more at some point, because we're all having a lot of fun with it. But
Yeah.
uh, yeah, so did that. Rat Owl played a handful of shows. We got to bring up our really good buddies and heroes of ours. This band Quit from Miami, Florida. We flew them up to Minnesota and played a couple shows, and that was a big deal for us. We got to go to Canada and play this festival that John Snodgrass arranged, that all played at, who are heroes of ours, of course.
Yep.
They played 2 nights, and that was just out of body experience type stuff for us, and really got to play to our audience. And just super dreamy, awesome stuff there.
I
And
bet.
played a bunch of good local shows as well. We didn't tour too much this year in Rat Owl, but we played a lot of good. Every show we played was awesome. And then Align played a handful of shows. Dead History played, as I mentioned, a handful of shows. And then I filled in as just a hired gun for this band called Skinny Lister from the UK, who I'd met on a cruise ship tour I did with John Snodgrass a couple years ago. They needed to fill in drummer for like a week's worth of East Coast
Oh, that's
shows.
right. That's right. I remember that. Yeah.
And so I did that last winter, which I almost forgot about when I was kind of thinking about taking stock of everything. But I was like, oh my gosh, that was in 2025 too. So yeah, lots and lots of stuff. Survived all of it. So very, very stoked about that. And now it's kind of like, yeah, it's a little bit of an unknown. Red Owl, we're trying to get back on the horse in terms of writing some new music because we've been playing that last record, pretty much nonstop for a few years now, and so we're kind of ready to see what else we can cook up there. And so, we were actually supposed to meet tonight, but there's a blizzard here, so we're not doing that. And but hopefully, before too long, we'll have some new tunes in that band. Like I mentioned, Dead History is probably not going to be doing stuff, but hopefully John and Brock and I'll be able to cook something up there. A Line is kind of like halfway through a recording. That's just been kind of fits and starts. John has another band called Short Timer that's been really busy. They just put out a record and did a bunch of shows, and so he's been kind of in that world. And then Jeremy Jessen has another band called Forbidden Seas that just played played their first shows and is working on finishing a recording. We're all in too many friggin' bands, man. It's just
Yeah,
it's sort of like when some person comes free, then another person gets busy. And so,
for sure.
at our age, it's like you just have to, you got to be patient, stars align, and then hopefully, you can make some stuff happen. But I do know there's a bunch of stuff that's kind of been floated out there for 2026 in terms of like trips and travel dates and also local shows, bringing people to Minneapolis that we want to bring and build some shows around. And it's just kind of plotting it all out and making it happen at this point. But yeah, it's just kind of catching my breath at this point and recovering a little bit and hopefully gearing up for another busy year. I don't take it for granted that that I still have opportunities to get out and do the thing I love with people that I love and see people that I love all over the country and the continent, really, and continue to make new friends. And it's just like none of it was a drag this year. I gotta say it was a really kind of like a blessed kind of a rollout for me, 2025. So not sure if we'll be able to top it, but hopefully there'll be some kind of continuation of that energy and spirit for the new year.
That's awesome, man. No, that's a epic year. Yeah, hell, I just played 70 shows doing Bon Jovi tribute
Oh shit!
covers.
You did more than me.
Whatever. Yeah, but it's just I play the same 23 songs every single night, so it
Right.
doesn't matter. But no,
Right.
that's just super dope that you got to do all that. There's so many things that you just talked about that I'm like, man, just have played two shows, with all in Canada would have been so awesome. It's just
Yeah.
all those things are great, and all the success that you had this year, I think, is incredible, and it's awesome that, like you said, that you got to be able to go play all the shows you did with all the people that you did and see all your friends all around the continent and make new friends and do this in multiple bands. And I mean, I just filled in with this band from the UK last year, kind of forgot about it. Like, dude,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Like it's just awesome that you got to do all that stuff. And I'm just super grateful to be able to kind of chat with you through all of that, especially kind of just the tail end of what happened with Dead History and talking about the song and talking about the recording and looking forward to the fact that you got another song coming out on some sort of split 7 at some point, maybe, and we'll see.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's so many cool things happening there.
Yeah.
I
And I'm remembering, the last time I talked to you with for this podcast about it was about a Rat Owl song from our first record. So it was some time ago, and that was at a time. It was like a really kind of like bit of a pivotal time in my life. It was like a difficult time. There was all the crap that we already kind of talked about that had happened in Minneapolis. Like it was just the vibes were not good here. Work stuff was rough. Relationship stuff was rough, and I was kind of like in the process of trying to kind of like just make some lifestyle changes and reprioritize how I was spending my time and my energy and my efforts. And, coming out of COVID and all that, really was like, man, the thing that means the most to me is music and playing music, particularly with my friends. But just playing music for people, recording it, just playing in a practice space with buddies, whatever. Like, I just wanted to put myself in position to do as much of that as I could while I could. Um, because rock and roll drumming is a there is a bit of a mortality to it, I think, if you don't keep your shit together, and like and so these last couple years, with Rat Owl and Dead History, like putting out records that I'm just so proud of, and the touring opportunities I've had and all those kinds of things, I just feel like it's been a bit of a affirmation, that, like, if you kind of prioritize the right things, um, sometimes the universe will open up for you a little bit, and reward you, maybe, if you struggle through, if you work through the struggles, and stay true to yourself and the things that you really want to get out of this life.
Absolutely, man.
I
No,
know
I
that
mean,
it's not the same scenarios for everyone, but I just hope that anyone out there who might be listening to this, if you think it's too late for you to do something impactful creatively, or just anything that you've been putting off that you want to do. I mean, there's really nothing stopping you other than yourself, especially if you put out that energy into the universe, and hopefully other people kind of respond to it, and then all of a sudden it's just like things kind of open up for you. So, like I said, not sure that'll continue into the next year, but I feel like this 2025 is kind of like a culmination of all that. Um, just there was a lot of hard work, but it was all very joyous, and therapeutic, and I really hear it in the Dead History stuff, and particularly this Dead History record, Departures, and Rat Owl, Rage Gracefully, those two records. Like, I'm so proud of everyone's work on them. You hear everyone's personalities shining through, who played on those and who worked on them, from engineering and mixing, and the artwork and everything. But as just personally, on a personal level, like the drumming, I'm just like, I feel like I was able to achieve like a bit of a higher standard than I had done before, which is pretty awesome when you're in squarely in middle age, and when most people would say you probably should have peaked by now in the kind of thing that we do.
absolutely. No, I hear it, man. And it's, again, I don't disagree with anything you said. If you feed the things that you love and that you want to do, it's amazing what those things kind of come back to you and in other forms of opportunities and things. I mean, got a lot going in my life that feels the same. But um David, thank you so much for taking the time tonight, man, to talk with me about all this and catching us up on everything that you've done in 25 and what a year it's been, and just all the just great musical achievements and things that you've accomplished. It's just really cool to hear. And yeah, it's inspiring to hear that, right, you work a full-time day job and you do all these things that you do, and you're able to contribute and be creative and help other people realize their visions creatively as well, and just all that is just so impactful. But I just think it's always so much fun to hear what you've been working on and all the various different things you do creatively and musically. So I mean, obviously, if when the next Dead History single comes out, or if the new Basement monthly foray turns into something that gets recorded, I'd love to hear all about it, and we'll have you back on again to talk about the next thing. So
Yeah, hopefully there'll be some new Align stuff soon too. I mean,
that'd be great.
I think it's really good. I think people will like it. It's just kind of getting it to the finish line, and
Yeah, well, I'm
all
sure you
that.
guys
So
will
maybe that'll be the next thing. Who knows? But
make it happen. Yeah, I hope you do. But
yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah, and I
man.
hope to see you in real life again. Either in Atlanta, or if you ever make it back up here hopefully in 2026 we'll make that happen. I was really bummed to miss you at Fest this year.
Yeah, me too, man. I really wanted to be there. I totally wanted to get up and sing New Day Rising with you guys.
I know.
But no, that'd be awesome. So yeah, keep me posted on when and if you're coming back down this way. I'll certainly do the same. I know I'm heading up there at some point this spring or summer, so I'd love to see you when I get up there.
Awesome.
Cool, man.
Cool. Well, always a pleasure, Brett. And
likewise, David.
Have a good holidays and good rest of your year.
Yeah, you too, man.
Three Crows Club presents B-side breakdown.
And that wraps up another episode of the B-Side Breakdown. I want to thank David Jarnstrom from the band Dead History for coming on to talk about the song Through the Shadows. In the background, you're hearing the song Teenager, which is a Deftones cover by the put-together band Killing Stairs. If you like what you hear, please go back and listen to the previous episode because it was all about that and Brad Gunnarsson, who is a legendary advocate of all things music in the Midwest and Minneapolis, St. Paul area of Minnesota. Up next, I have the song Upside Down by the band Battery Eyes, which features Andrew from Unstable Shapes on vocals. So I'm going to have Johnny and Andrew on that, and I'll give you a taste of that at the end of this episode. I want to thank Adam Coulong and Carrie Bozel for helping me put together the jingle you hear at the beginning and the end of this episode. Please subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your podcast. I can't thank you enough for your continued and ongoing support. Please stay safe and sane out there as best you can with everything that's going on, particularly in Minneapolis. And yeah, man, let's keep our heads together and we'll catch up on the next one.